In this video, I'll be going over how you set up the asset for Unreal 5. The asset is available on the Fab Store. You can get that from here. And then that gets listed as part of like your library where you can install the plugin to whatever engine you want to work with. So currently on the store, there are 3 versions, 5.5, 5.6 and 5.7. The asset was actually built in 5.4, so I just have a couple of things to check with this before I upload this to the store. So in the coming weeks, you have 5.4 and possibly 5.3. So for this installation demo, I'll be using 5.6. So just on the asset, click the install to engine and I'll be selecting 5.6. The same process, the process works exactly the same for the other engine versions. So install to engine, we'll wait for it to install. So now if I go to 5.6, now this shows up as one of the plugins I have installed to my engine. So I can launch that and then create a project to test this out. So you can install this into your existing project, but I would advise you just set it up in a blank project. You know, get used to everything before you start moving things over into your main project. So I'll call this test 5.6 just to make sure I know what project this is. So yeah, there, and create. All right, so with the project open, Unreal already like prompt you to tell you that there are plugins available that you've installed to the engine. So you find it under installed and physics, and it shows you the simulation asset is here. And then, but because it's installed to the engine, it's not activated automatically. So you have to check this and then restart the editor for this to now be activated in the project. Now, a quirk with this is because it's installed to the engine, the location of the things that are included in the asset is going to be very different. So for the first time you install this, you get this, an introduction menu that just tells you that I will be updating the asset, you know, constantly, and you will be getting notifications like this when you open the project, only when an update is available. So it's not like every time you open the project. So basically just checks my GitHub to see if like there's an update and tells you, okay, something is new, these are the new features that have been added, or these are the things that have been changed, and you can just download it from there. And if you run into any problems, you can just send me an email and we'll see how to sort it out. So now everything is installed, and this is not always there by default, so this is not necessary, but just to make sure that everything is working properly before we start like testing things out, if you go to tools, debug, modules, this lists all the modules that are currently installed to your engine. And if you search for Silantro, you're going to see the 2 modules that come with the asset, so the core simulator itself and then the editor that draws things on the screen. So we want to recompile the 2 of them just to make sure that, you know, everything is all fine. And then recompile the editor too. So now we're ready to start, you know, working. I can close this. As you can see, someone was asking me about this on YouTube. Because the asset is installed to the engine, not your project, the content is not going to be immediately visible from here. So yeah, you have to go to the content drawer here, and then you're going to see all the engine, like what is it called, content. And if it's not here, you have to go to the settings and make sure that plugin and engine content is checked, because again, the asset is installed to the engine from Fab. So the files are going to be visible as part of like your Unreal engine, not as part of your project. So make sure that your C++ classes are checked, engine content is checked, and plugin content is checked. And then instead of just it's here, we can scroll to find it, or you can just search as Silantro to see the files that are included in your current project engines. So now these are the scripts that come with the asset. These are the scripts in the editor, and then you have content, which is just a list of things that are included in the asset. So audios, data assets that include things like your different arrow files. This is going to grow massively, so I'm going to add a lot of stuff with this. So these are just the base ones to get you started, and then you have different types of engines, piston engines, like your simple engines that are based on like static values, turbofan engines, turbojet, different kind of engines are already pre-configured and ready to go. Then you have different kinds of propellers. Again, I will add more to this as I set up new aircrafts and new systems. Then in the last video I recorded, I talked about the fact that I was going to add the enhanced input that Unreal actually prompts you to use. So this is already available in the, I think, 5.6, but there is an issue with the update on the store that this is not available in 5.7. So I'm going to like get this sorted out with the Unreal team, and you should get this in like the next day or so. And then levels, these are like the pre-configured aircraft. The pre-configured aircraft that comes with the system, it's a Cessna 182, and that's ready to fly out of the box. And then this is just a mesh that comes with it. So there are two things: the manual control and then the augmented control that comes with the stability augmentation system. So if I switch to manual, this is not going to work by default. Like, I think, yeah. So my aircraft controls work, but like the camera controls and engine controls don't work because those are still on the old input system. So there will be two updates immediately following this one, like immediately following this video. So the second update is going to finally remove all the remnants of the old control system and switch everything fully to the enhanced input. So this video might be outdated by the time that is ready. So but if you currently have the asset which still includes the default control system, what you need to do is go to edit, project settings, and scroll down to input. So you have enhanced input and you have normal input. So on my GitHub, it's linked in the video. I have a list of folders that are very, very important to the asset. So aerofoil shapes, these are going to be configured with the project. And then you have configuration files for the default Unreal controls, and full extractor, prop extractor. I will explain this in like their dedicated videos. And then you have the Windows raw input and the input system configured for the Logitech X3D, but right now we only need the keyboard one. So from edit, project settings, and then scroll down to input, you want to go and import the configuration files for the default keyboard controls. So this is why I said it's just better for you to like test everything out in a blank project so that you don't mess up like your existing project. So just test it out in a blank project, everything works as expected, and then we start moving things over to like your existing project to make sure that, you know, everything is all fine. So this is just like a configuration for the default keyboard input. So I'm going to move all of this to the enhanced input system, so you would not have to do this in like the next update or two. So now that this is here, our keyboard control should work. So if I play this in again, now I'm able to drag the mouse around to control the camera. If I press C, I move to cockpit input, and this is all working. And B toggles the brakes, 4 lowers the flaps, 3 raises the flaps, and you can start the engine with number 1 on the keyboard, and you can increase the throttle. You can increase the throttle with 0, you can reduce the throttle with 9. Basically, if you want to know exactly how all of this is controlled, so the basic aircraft controls are already on the on the enhanced input, so you don't need to, they already work by default. The only thing we needed to do was just the keyboard controls for the cameras and what is it called, activating the engines and toggling the brakes and so on, all of that. So if you go to IMC keyboard aircraft control, so this is the mappings for the aircraft system. So you see throttle control, and shows you that 9 is on the positive side, and I think I have modifiers. Oh, sorry, 0 is on the positive side and 9 is on the negative side. So you can just scroll down to this and like remap this to any value you want. I don't give them enough credit for this, but this is actually kind of cool. This is available by default. Then the default aircraft controls are available here. WSD, then the arrow key is on the right side of the keyboard, and pedal is mapped to Q and E, so you can change all of this to like your gamepad or like your VR controls or whatever it is that you actually want. So if I test this again, activate the aircraft, and then 0 to accelerate, C to switch to cockpit input, and you can just fly with the keyboard. Everything works so fine. Yeah, again, because the plugin is installed as part of the engine, it's in content drawer, engine, plugins, and then you see all the available plugins that you've installed from the what is it called, the Epic launcher. So if you can't find it here, just go to content drawer, your project, and just search for Silantro in the engine and plugin folder, and everything should be there. So again, the inputs are on the, you have like in the content folder, you have a list of things that come with the asset, and the pre-configured aircraft is included in the levels normal. So this is going to also grow. I'm going to add other things with this. All right.